What up, JUCO Fridays? My man BG. BG, what's good?
Living the dream,
Back
as
at
they
it.
say.
Back at it again. We're gonna have an awesome show today. We got two guests, and then we're gonna have all kinds of JUCO and NCAA talk conversation. We're gonna start out with a championship coach, Coach Will Jones. Used to be a JUCO coach himself. He's gonna talk about some JUCO life. Gonna talk about his championship team and North Carolina A&T. So we're gonna bring him in right now. Coach, I think you might be on mute.
Yep, he's got that mute button on.
That's all right. It happens to the best of us. Coach, can you unmute it for us?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. What's going on, guys?
How you doing? How you doing?
Oh, all is well, man. Got two B's on here today, man. We good.
It's going down. It's going down. So BG's actually been to your campus before. He was actually bragging about how nice your campus is on one of the episodes.
Yeah, that was about, what, 2 years ago, B?
I think so. I was out there for work stuff. And
right after the tornado or something like that.
Yeah, it was after the hurricane because my old job had to do with going out to those disaster zones. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive around North Carolina and see all these campuses. And the only two people that responded were North Carolina A&T and, of course, my guys out at Campbell. And I was like, whatever. I'm headed to Greensboro.
For sure. Glad we did that.
Yeah, Coach, tell us real quick about the campus, and then tell us about this championship squad. You guys been playing at a high level, and I know you guys have the tournament coming up and had some recent games canceled, but you guys clinched the division title for your side. So tell us a little bit about the squad and about the Aggie life.
Yeah, here in Greensboro, unbelievable campus, right at 13,000 kids. You drive on our campus, and you're blown away right away. And even since Brandon's been on campus, we've built a multi-million-dollar student center that's right across the street from the gym. And so they've continued to upgrade campus. The student life here is unbelievable. It's what kids want to come to school for. We got an unbelievable following in terms of fans and supporters for our games. And so it's big-time basketball here. Sad thing is this team, a lot of the new guys, they haven't had a chance. Well, the last game, they let fans in, and so they got a chance to get it going a little bit. It scared our guys a little bit because we didn't play well at all. I think they were like, man, what the heck's going on here, man? We played probably our worst offensive game all season, but we got the win. But this team, man, I really thought, when we recruited these guys with a normal routine of training in summer, in fall, that we had a chance to really be good going into the season. And I think it took us some time. It took me some time, especially to give some of these guys an opportunity to get out there and play, especially my junior college guys, because, it takes junior college guys. Sometimes those guys figure it out right away, and sometimes it takes a little longer for them to figure it out. But I had to give them an opportunity to get used to the D1 game. And, they had a chance to play early once we started playing some games. And once we got to conference play, I kind of knew what the roles of everybody would be. And we've been pretty good during that time. So I really like this team. Good blend of JUCO, 4-year transfers, and four-year guys. So it's been good so far. Hopefully we can get this thing done.
Coach, I want to go back to your campus there real quick. You were talking about, because I think a lot of people that, haven't been to North Carolina A&T, one, don't realize like it's right there in Greensboro, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a great little town for it to be in. But that was like one of the few campuses I've ever been to where when you're walking around, like everybody's just outside doing stuff, right? Like there's people doing art over here. There's people hanging out doing stuff over here. There's guys doing music over here. I'm like, where am I? It was like a art convention or something going on. It was great. It was awesome. Yeah. Student life was out there just like doing their thing. Like it was cool. It was really cool. And the rec center, right? The rec center, I think it was relatively new something. That thing was nuts.
Yeah. So, we just one of our coaches, was getting hot down here now. So the manager, we said, man, what's going on campus? Everybody's out, coach. Everybody's out. So they're out at the student center. Like I said, it's a new one right across the street from the gym. So that's kind of like now where everybody's hanging out at, man. Yeah. It's 3 levels. It's got a caf. It's got Chick-fil-A. It's got a wing spot in there. It's got places to sit down and chill. And so, it's not, it's kind of like a hybrid model still right now, but the kids that are here, kind of that's where they're hanging out at.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was awesome. It was, I mean, you guys have a lot to sell there.
Definitely.
The student life. And that's something I think a lot of times recruits don't ever ask about, right? Because everything is so focal pointed on basketball and the arena, and do you send guys pro and blah 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 blah, and they forget that they forget that practice is 2-3 hours a day or whatever, and they got class, but other than that, like, you're on campus doing other stuff,
Right.
like
student life, the experience outside of and I'm big on that, the experience outside of basketball. You need to be able to meet some friends and have some things going on outside of practice, outside of games, because you're not going to be able to do that your entire life. So you need to be a part of campus, and I think our guys have done a pretty good job of that.
Their whole life can't be you yelling at them.
Exactly. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all.
So, Coach, you spent some time in JUCO. Let's talk about JUCO guys in your roster. You spent some time coaching JUCO. I know you love JUCO. We actually talked. You're like, man, that JUCO show you got going, man, I love it. So, had to get you on here to talk about that JUCO energy. Tell us about your JUCO experience.
Junior college, man. My third year in coaching, I started off at the D2 and then went back to my alma mater for probably 7 months. And then, I'm talking to CY and, and he's like, man, listen, I got 2 options for you. You can go to Campbell or you can go down to Okaloosa Walton. And I'm like, Okaloosa where? Okaloosa Walton. So I look it up on the map. It's in Niceville, Florida. I drive down and I meet Bruce Stewart, and he's like, man, I don't know if you guys have met Bruce or talked to Bruce before he passed, but he's like a general, man. He was running a program. It was a high level. And so he sits me down, we're talking, he drives me through Destin. And, I'm from the country, man. I know I like Hawaiian punch, right? So he drives me across the bridge between Fort Walton Beach and Destin, and the water's looking like we're in Hawaii. And I'm like, Coach, I'm coming. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And so that water was so clear, man. It looked like I could go down there and drink it, man. And so I was like, I'm coming down here, and I tell people to this day, man, that's been my best job outside of being a head coach. Yeah. It was my best job. I got there. We were loaded. That first year, we had probably 7 guys go. 5 went high major, 2 went mid plus, and I met every coach in the country. We won a lot of games. At that point in time, there wasn't a automatic bid for junior college. Us and Chipola was both top 5 at the time, and we played each other 4 times the 2 years that I was there, and they were able to get to the national tournament. But my last recruiting class was the first one for O-Dub to be able to get out of Florida and get to the national tournament, which was Bruce's last year coaching, and I think that was a big accomplishment.
Coach, I want to go back to something you said there about how when you were there, you met every coach in the country.
Yes.
And, we talk a lot of times about networking and, how important it is. And a lot of guys, think that networking is jumping on a Zoom call and being like, hey, we were on a Zoom that one time. And it's not, right? Yes. I mean, it's very much like building those relationships and stuff. Maybe if you wouldn't mind, just talk a minute about that time when you were in junior college there and you're meeting all these guys, like how important that was to really the rest of the track that you've had going.
Man,
some people look at junior college and think like, well, I'm going to go make whatever. And, it's junior college, and they don't realize that networking opportunity is maybe the most valuable thing that they'll have gotten to that point in their career.
It's been my baseline, Brandon, to be honest with you. It's been my baseline. I was sitting there. It was, at that time, it was a head coach and an assistant coach. And we're coming in. We got, 2 different workouts. And I'm sitting there, a 6'2" dude, and I'm holding a pad, banging against a 6'11" cat, doing pickups. He's got to make 15 pickups. I'm breaking my back while these coaches are watching. And I'm like, you know what? I got to show these dudes I'm tough. I can't let them know I'm struggling right now, And, during that hard work, you're out there as an assistant and you're working, and these guys are coming in. You're talking about from everybody in the country, man. Kansas, Duke, whoever. You know what I mean? Like, they're coming through just to see our guys, and you after that workout's over, you go sit down, you go get lunch, or you go have dinner with these guys, and they get to know you from a human being standpoint. And they know what you've been through. And a lot of these guys, some of them have the same junior college background as I'm going through at that point. You know what I'm saying? And the respect for Coach Stewart at that time, who had been a D1 coach, had competed against a lot of these guys. Huggins, Huggins and Bruce competed in the old OVC at Middle Tennessee State and Akron. And so now I have those relationships. I can pick up the phone and call these guys and say, hey, coach, man, look, this is what I'm dealing with. And they have a respect for where I worked, how I worked, the JUCO life, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought the relationships, saw how high-level junior college recruiting went down, which is a big thing for me now. Before I even go into a situation, I can tell what the recruiting is going to be like. And so I get on the phone with a recruit, and I can keep it 100 with him,
right.
And he can be like, damn, this dude really knows what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? And so it's been the baseline to my career. It's helped me sign some really good junior college guys at the mid-level that has helped everywhere I've been. And, I'm always going to recruit JUCO guys.
Right. Yeah. It's just, you can't buy what that gives you. Right. And I think so many guys kind of look at the paycheck and forget that, hey, there's this other thing here. You cannot buy it.
Yes.
You cannot buy those relationships and that exposure. And I mean, you think about like when you're there and the, coach from Kansas comes through. Like if you don't get an opportunity to sit down with that guy and talk with them and build a relationship, you can't just randomly pick up the phone and call him.
No,
he's not taking the call.
No. You want to be at the top of the food chain at whatever you do, right?
Yeah.
And so when I was at Northwest, I was at the top of the food chain in terms of JUCO. And so when I went to the Final Four, or I was out on the road, and those high level coaches were there, that was a welcoming conversation. Was a welcoming conversation. You know what I mean? And so it was good to be able to get involved in those conversations, because again, it helps you when you move on from that next spot. And, even though I didn't make a lot of money, again, I'm telling you right here, it was my best job. It was my best job in terms of working with high-level guys. You don't always get a chance to work with high-level guys. Seeing with that big-time basketball talent, those guys, what they're doing in the light, it helps you in your evaluation of new players. And you look at it and say, hey, man, this guy right here could play for me at O-Dub. If nobody's recruiting him, I'm going to recruit him at A&T because I know he could play in the Panhandle.
Right.
And so it really helped me out, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Young guys that are listening to this or whatever, like, recognize that the things that you take for granted probably when you're in that job a lot of times and you're making these relationships, you don't realize you can't buy it. And it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really the foundation for the rest of your career. I mean, you talked about it. I know I've experienced it. When you coach in junior college, the relationships, the knowing how to do more with less, right? You get way more creative recruiting wise. You understand how to recruit a JUCO guy, which you realize JUCO is really important for recruiting no matter where you are. You know what I mean? Except for maybe the Stanfords and Dukes of the world, everywhere else, if you can sprinkle in the right JUCO guy, it makes a huge difference. So I think that's a tremendous part of for you. But you turned down a Division I to go JUCO. Not many guys do that. So sure. other than the water, coach, what made you do that, and what advice would you give to a young coach?
See why I painted the picture.
And so when you say CY, for those that don't know, most people know him first initial basis, first two initials, but that's the assistant coach at Florida State.
Charlton Young.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Time, in the South, on that East Coast, he was the guy that was really reaching out to some of us young guys coming up. In that conversation, I remember like yesterday, he said, "Hey, listen, I want you to go to to Okaloosa Warren. Coach, you'll meet everybody in the country. You'll come out of there. You have an unbelievable resource in terms of the JUCO." And he said, "Man, and then after you get that done, we'll be able to get you, wherever we need you to get you at." And so I believed in that. And everything he said came true. I can't see where I would be right now if I didn't go to Northwest Florida. Again, This is my first head coaching experience, but I actually took the job after my second year at Motlow. I took the job at Motlow. They offered me the job, and it's crazy how it went down. They offered me the job. I came back to Northwest, and Mickey Inglet, who was one of the premier ADs in Florida for a long time, he brought me in. He's bringing me in, the assistant coach, and he's bringing me in. He said, "Coach, I don't want you to take the job at Motlow." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Hey, man, look, it's not a good job. Your job here is better. We want you to stay here." And so I struggled with it for a long time. And so I turned it down. We finished the recruiting class there at Northwest for that year. And my mother got sick. Charleston Southern came open. I made one phone call. They offered me the job at Charleston Southern. And 4 months later, Coach Stewart gets sick, all right, with cancer, all right. And you start looking back over your career like, man, if I would have stayed, I would have been the head coach at Northwest Florida. Okay, I've been there for 3 years. They loved me there. We were very good. That would have been my opportunity. But that wasn't how it was supposed to work out, and I would always look back and say, would I do it differently? No, I wouldn't have done it differently. I did it the path that, it was supposed to go. And you look at what happens. Steve Forbes comes in there the next year, and JUCO helps revitalize his career. But all of us are part of that Northwest family. And, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Coach, the part you said you recruit JUCO still, you still have a blend. You've won a championship. So how much, I think it probably goes without saying, but how much has that time in JUCO helped you to win the championship that you guys won this year and still recruit those guys to this day?
We've always had here, since this is year 5, we've always had a junior college kid here that has been really, really good. Right. And has really helped us create an edge. In our league, Florida junior colleges kids don't come to the MEAC.
Right.
They haven't had a ton. They haven't had really any panhandle kids. And since I've been here, we've had two panhandle kids. We've had 2 kids from the Suncoast League, and all of them have been successful. Ron Jackson, who was a kid at Hillsborough, came into this league last year. In the 2 years he was here, he dominated this league. He dominated this league with his athleticism, and then he came here and got better from the skill standpoint. He's making a lot of money overseas right now, and so to be able for us here, I always said if I can get a panhandle guy, he's going to translate. All right, if a panhandle kid, this is a nugget for all these assistant coaches out there. Listen, this is the part we've been waiting for, Coach. This is the part we've been waiting for. No doubt. If a panhandle kid is averaging 10+ points a game, and he's starting for that team, Tallahassee, Gulf Coast, Chipola, Pensacola, Northwest, he can play for you. He can play for you in the mid, to low level leagues. So stop. He can't do. Nah, Coach. He can get it done. I'm telling you right now. I know what the calculation and the translations about that, how it gets done. And I always said, if I get a panhandle kid, we're gonna that kid's gonna be really good for us.
I appreciate you saying that part, because I think that's a hard part. When you're an assistant, you're trying to show guys. Like, I remember literally putting these things together for my coaches I work for. Like, this guy's in our league. This is what he averaged in junior college. In the same league, this guy averages this. He's good enough. Like, we got to take this dude. This guy can make an impact. And lo and behold, he goes somewhere else, and you just like banging your head against the wall. So I'm glad you said that about that translation, because when you coach in JUCO, you have a different understanding of what that does translate. Talk about that real quick before we get to the funny stuff.
Yeah, you start seeing how, when you live in the dorms with the guys and you see what's going on, you talk to these coaches on the phone in terms of recruiting, and you send these guys out and you start seeing that production level. You got high major JUCOs, mid-level JUCOs, low major JUCOs, and you got to figure out which kid are you recruiting. Are you recruiting a high-level league? If you're recruiting a high-level league and you're in a low major league, D1 league, and that kid may be the 6th man on that roster, but he's averaging about 8 or 9 points in that high major league, hey, you better be quiet and try to talk to him on the side and try to get that thing done, because that player's going to be a really good player for you once he gets into that low major league. You know, if you mess around and you can sign a starter on one of those leagues, you're probably gonna have an all-conference guy coming out. You know, you got to give him a chance to get his feet wet when he gets there and understand what's going on. But that kid, talent-wise, is probably better than, you know, most of the guys in your league. And so, but you got to be able to see that and understand when you go see a game, what you're looking at. If you go see a game in the Panhandle, you're looking at a Conference USA probably type of game. You know, a Conference USA level type of game. And I always said Conference USA, American League, the best players in those leagues will probably go to those leagues and be pretty good. And you look at the kid at North Texas that was the point guard at Northwest. What's his name?
Javon Hamilton.
Yeah, he's the perfect example of that. You know, he goes to Conference USA and he's in an American League over there at North Texas, and he's a high level guy for them. He's a high
player of the year. He's player of the year last year.
The translation works. It works.
I feel like I'm gonna segue Brandon and his tweets here recently talking about.
Oh no! Wait, which one?
the ones where you're talking about. So you're saying he can play downhill, or the things that you've been talking about. Well, can he shoot it, coach? And you're like, he can play downhill. He can't shoot it. I think
I want you to know I made a note here that one of my new 2021 goals is to get coach to take a kid from Wyoming or North Dakota. So we're just going to expand his recruiting here outside the Panhandle a little bit.
Listen. I'm going to tell you something. Listen, when Brandon was coming on the scene, you know, I'm watching the JUCO thing. I'm like, man, what the hell? Who's doing all of this stuff over here in Wyoming and Colorado? Like, who's this guy? And I start watching it, we started, you know, I don't know what it was. Maybe I came out to Wichita or something, and I met him, and we started communicating via text, and you know, just about kids in that area. And the job that he's done is unbelievable, making those kids out there more visible and more recruitable, because for a long time those kids were left out in terms of being included and being some of the top players in the country.
Yep, absolutely.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. So I think it was Myles Garrett. You did a thing with Myles Garrett playing basketball.
Oh yeah. Somebody would look at Myles Garrett doing that and say, "Well, can he shoot it?"
Oh yeah,
he can get downhill, coach, but can he shoot it? So, coach, tell us a couple funny stories before you let you go, man. JUCO's had some of the best stories. You spent so much time with the guys, either recruiting a JUCO guy. Whether you were in JUCO, you already told us about the water. That was a great, funny story leading the way. But if you got any more before you go, we'd love to hear it.
You know, I mean, you know, in my time in JUCO, man, I don't know if you guys, you know, Rashante Harris, all right? He's in Columbus, Mississippi.
Okay.
In the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, all right? And Coach Stewart says, hey, man, listen, we need a big guy, man. We need a top-level big guy. And New Hope, Mississippi is about 7 hours from Niceville. And so I'm going there every other day. And recruiting this kid, and nobody can get the kid on the phone. Not Auburn, not Mississippi State. Nobody can get the kid on the phone, and they start calling me. They start calling me and like, hey, coach, you're recruiting the kid, Rashante Harris down at New Hope. I'm like, yeah. I said, man, and I remember Derek Kellogg saying when he was at Auburn, he said, man, well, can you help us get him? I said, shit, I got to get him first for me first. I got to get him for me first. You know what I mean? And they were like, coach, how are you getting to Columbus, Mississippi? You guys got a private plane? Man, I was in that car, man. Listen, I was drinking Red Bull, eating Slim Jims. I was getting down to Columbus, Mississippi, man, every other day. And that kid ended up going from, nobody really knowing who he was to the number 14 player in the country. Number 14 player in the country. And he called me one day. I said, man, I couldn't get you. He said, where were you? He said, man, I had a meeting with John Calipari. I said, what did he tell you? He said, coach, he told me we really like you, but, we would love to have you, but we don't need you. They started recruiting him really hard. And I told Bruce, man, golly, man, he only had visited us. He visited us And I said, man, I'm scared now that Memphis is going to come in and sway him, and they did. They swayed him, and he ended up going to the school, the prep school with Chris out in North Carolina. What was the name of it? It wasn't Laurinburg, but it was after Laurinburg, because Cal was sending all his guys to Laurinburg, but Chris Cheney was the coach at the new spot, and he ended up going there, man. And we didn't get the kid. And it's a sad story because the kid never got a chance to play D1 basketball. He should have came JUCO. So all these coaches out there, when these JUCO guys come in there and tell him something, he can make it. He can't make. He needs to come JUCO. Let that kid go JUCO, man. Trying to get him into prep school, and the kid got to go to prep school, go JUCO. Then he's 35 years old before he gets to campus. You know what I'm saying? So listen to the JUCO coach, man. Listen to the JUCO coach, man. But man, I was up and down that road, man. They always used to say, man, you must have got a private plane, man, because I was in Georgia, Mississippi, South Carolina. I was in Florida. I was all over the place, man. One assistant coach, just flying all over the place trying to find players, man.
Yeah, it definitely teaches you to grind too. I think the recruiting grind, you recruit totally different. You have a different kind of mentality when it comes to recruiting. When you come from JUCO, you get spoiled Division I per diem and taking this flight and taking the rental car. It's like, nah, man, you hopping in maybe your own car, maybe the school car if you're lucky. You staying in other people's houses on the couch. Like,
hey, in Corona time, some of these D1 coaches that never been in JUCO got a little taste of JUCO when it's like, get on the bus.
Oh, no doubt.
You ain't flying,
right?
We ain't popping positive.
Right.
B, that's funny because when I got the D1, and, you're thinking about who you're recruiting and all that type of stuff. And it was never, 8 hours, 9 hours. Where's this kid at? Shit, coach, I just rent a car. I go drive. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys talking about, let's get on a plane. I'm like, we can get on a plane? Like, if I got to drive, I'll drive wherever. It took me a long time. And even now, listen, if I got to get in the car and drive, you know what I mean? Some of the best phone conversations I've ever had has been driving in the car, in JUCO. And I should buy stock in 5 Hour Energy. Me and 5 Hour Energy like best friends. And but it was a great time, man. It was a great time. And I went a lot of different places. My first opportunity to recruit in Canada, I flew into Buffalo, and I drove in a snowstorm from Buffalo to Toronto to recruit a kid. Like, it was, you have those, and it wasn't in a nice rental car. It was like in a small, really compact rental car. You know what I'm saying?
Built for a blizzard in northern.
Exactly, a blizzard going in Toronto, hey, but I had to get the job done, man. So whatever it took to get the job done, I was going to do it.
I love it, man. I love it. Last one I end you with, Coach, is the HBCU movement, man, has been a powerful one here recently. NBA's donate money, I think, from the All-Star game. Chris Paul's got his little series with Undefeated where he's interviewing not only LaVelle Moulton in their series, but he's doing interviewing a lot of other people. Taraji P. Henson he interviewed, and actors, actresses, whatever. And then we had a 5-star commit to HBCU. Tell us a little bit about what's it been like for you now that HBCU schools and universities are getting more attention, and what would you say to just people who don't know much about or don't know anything about HBCU life and how to appreciate that?
Man, in anything you do, you got to have education. And, HBCUs, low major, mid-major programs, or schools, universities, we all have the places that we want to get better at. And then at HBCUs, depending on where you go, some of our universities are very, very much adequate place for players to come. And ever since I came to North Carolina A&T, we had like Brandon has, he could probably attest to, we have that eye appeal. You come on our campus, you're like, wow, this is a nice spot. You know what I mean? And now you just got to put the right people in the right seats to be able to know the type of kids you need to recruit to be successful in the league that you play in. And then once you combine those things, then you can be as good as the other teams in the other leagues that compare to you. Once you get those players on board, but the historical, I tell people all the time, HBCU don't have nothing to do with sports. HBCU is the acronym for the university. a place that African Americans had an opportunity to go get a college degree back during the segregation era. And this is where a lot of high level African Americans that could afford to come to school. This is where they came, and so I try to educate people and our players about the significance of being at an HBCU. But at the end of the day, it's all about the resources that the schools can put in front of you. And I think here at A&T and at some other schools, we've got some resources. And again, once you get those resources, how you allocate those resources to get the players on campus, that's what's going to help you be successful. And so for me, I took over as an interim. We're in a MEAC, and I'm saying, man, they always say, hey, man, if you're in the MEAC, you're going to get stuck. You're never going to have a chance to be a high level head coach or X, Y, and Z, because they put that in your head. And it's funny, man. Like 3 weeks later, our university announces that we're going to the Big South. And I'm saying to myself, and I told my staff, I said, hey, anything that anybody ever told you about being at a HBCU, that you can't be a big-time coach, you can't get that big-time job, I tell you what, we go in the Big South and we win this league, all right, yep. My name's going to be on the list like everybody else is on the list, okay? And that's going to allow for opportunities. So we got to make sure we do what we need to do here to get these players in, to coach them up, all right, to compete at the top level in the Big South. And if we can do that, then the opportunity to get another job, to step up another level, to accomplish the dreams that I had as a coach, as a head coach, coming into this business can be achieved. And so I don't say it's any holdback for us here at A&T. The schools that we have to compete against, I feel sound that we can compete against them. We got to do the job that we need to do, recruiting, getting the right guys in these seats here at A&T, and then coaching them up so we can compete at the championship level in the Big South when we go there next year.
And I think the narrative is starting, hopefully, to change a little bit too, in regard, from a basketball perspective. With these kids where they hear HBCU and it immediately creates this archaic image of like what you're capable of there, what the resources are like and stuff like that. Are there HBCUs that don't have resources and whatever? Sure. Just like there are non-HBCUs.
Exactly.
Like I know plenty of schools. Shoot, after having been to your campus, seeing what that game day environment would look like when it's packed, all that sort of thing. I know schools in the mid plus range that aren't as nice as North Carolina A&T. So, it's get that out of your head. And like I said, walking around your campus and seeing just like the life that's going on and seeing that energy that was going on there and stuff, like, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So but, it's all about relationships, right? It's all about relationships and coaches doing their jobs, right? Because you recruit a kid, you talk to him for 2 years, a year and a half. And once he gets comfortable with that coach, right, or that school, he's comfortable with that. Now, he doesn't know that it's only 250 people in the stands when the game's played. And you're like, oh, man, I'm going to this school. And then you start playing like, why is nobody in the stands? Why? I'm playing at a school with nobody in the stands.
Right.
As a coach, I do my research on that stuff, man. And I tell kids, depending on who's recruiting them, I'm like, hey, man, how many people come in their game?
We got a 6,000 seat arena.
It's big.
And you can hear a pin drop in every game.
It's nice. Nobody comes to see you play, though. You know what I mean?
They leave that out. It's in the fine print, Coach. I was
hoping.
That's where they say it at the end of the commercial. They put it down at the bottom, like 6,000 seat arena, but we only have 200 in.
Yeah, 4% capacity. I was helping a kid with something. The school sent him picture of this plane, and they said, this is the plane that we take to games. And when you looked it up, they hadn't chartered a game in like 5 years. That was a picture of the last time they chartered a game 5 years ago.
We gotta be salesmen as coaches too. We gotta be salesmen. We gotta make sure you do your research, man. You know what I mean?
Gotta uncrack the code, kids and parents.
Yeah, somebody's gonna pull that out and be like, "Does North Carolina A&T charter flights?" And it's like, you haven't taken a flight in 5 years. Like, what are you talking about? Get out of here!
Crazy.
Coach Jones, last thing, man. As a coach, what would you want people to know? Players, if there is a player that sees this, or if you're a video guy who's really good, wants to chop this up and splice it and put it out, what would you say about you as a coach? What would you want a recruit to know about who they're getting in you as a coach?
You're gonna get, I'm a players first type of coach, man. I'm a players first type of coach. We keep it simple here. When I tell the recruits, ABCs, as simple as 1, 2, 3. Positive attitude. I'm gonna believe in you, and I'm gonna trust that. I'm gonna push you to believe in your game. I'm gonna trust you with your game, but I need you to trust your own self with your game. And I'm gonna push you to have a high level of commitment, because everybody says they want to be a pro. Well, I'm gonna hold you accountable to doing that. That means I'm gonna keep reminding you when you're not in the gym, all right, that you said that you told me that you want to be a pro. So if you want to be a pro, then I'm gonna hold you accountable to that commitment and that sacrifice. What sacrifice are you gonna take to be a pro? Are you going, do you want to be out in the club all the time? All right, do you want to be hanging out with females all the time? Or you want to get in here and get a workout with the coaches? And I'm not going to be mad at you, but I'm just going to remind kids, when we recruit them, what you want to be. You told me you want to be a pro. And so, again, a player first program. We play with attitude. I let our guys play free here. We have fun. People always ask me, they say, Coach, you guys practice all those alley-oops? We don't practice it every day, but I give our guys the freedom to go out there if they can get the job done to play that way.
Right.
If a kid can shoot that bad boy from the logo, I'm letting them shoot it from the logo. Steve Kerr let Curry shoot it from the logo. So if he can do it and he has the confidence to get it done, that's in my advantage, because now the defense is in trouble. The coach is letting these kids shoot it from the logo, coach. You want me to go out there and play them? Yeah, you got to go out there and play them. You know what I'm
Tomorrow, he's having a kid pull up from the logo because he listened to this, and he's gonna have to mother F him back into not doing
you
that.
can't shoot from the logo.
Coach, you said I could shoot from the logo.
Listen, you can get it done. I want you to get it done. We're gonna try to push you to accomplish your goals here in North Carolina A&T.
I love it. Well, thanks, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time. Good luck in the tournament. Congrats on your championship. And look forward to more big things from you guys as you transition to the Big South too. It's gonna be fun.
Oh man, be good, man. I appreciate both of you guys for having me. This was good.
Yeah, Coach.
Okay, man. Good luck. Yeah, awesome stuff. BG, I'll let you segue and close out that one, and we'll bring in the next one.
Will Jones, North Carolina A&T, MEAC regular season champion. I forgot to ask him. I guess they are having their tournament, right? I haven't looked to see when the schedule pops up for that.
I think next week.
So that's going to be a good one. I watched that game against NC Central the other night. That was a rock fight. So
was it really?
That's going to be a fun tournament to watch. There's probably 3 or 4 teams in that thing that can win it. So
yeah, Norfolk won their side. Coppin State won their side as well. They tied.
Yep. Morgan State's really good.
Yep.
Morgan State's got players. You got. That's gonna be good. That's gonna be one of the better tournaments actually, because anybody can win the dang thing. So,
shout out to former player of mine, Anthony Tark. I think he got a chance to be a player of the year. I should have asked Coach about him, but I'll save that for next time.
I'll have to remind him that Lagio Granson at Morgan State, who's very good, is from Northwest College in Wyoming.
Hey,
and not the Panhandle.
I like it. But JUCO guys always take pride in wherever they coach.
Oh,
JUCO.
For sure. And everybody thinks that wherever they were from is the top.
Is the best.
Which, don't get me wrong, like Panhandle's the Panhandle. But I have a feeling there's some coaches from Texas that might say that the Whack Jack is the best league, and then I'm sure there's some Illinois and Iowa folks that might have some opinions, and whatever.
Absolutely. Speaking of coaches from Texas, we got a top 15. We got a top 15 coach in the country who has led 2 different Texas programs. Right now, he's the head coach of the Panola. I believe it's the Ponies, if I'm not mistaken. They just got a big win this week. Coach actually didn't coach their team. They're so good that his assistant coach, Javon Austin, could also lead them to victory. That's when you got great coaching. We're going to bring in Aaron Smith, one of the best from Panola College. Aaron, what up, man?
What's going on, guys? Y'all doing all right? Can you hear me?
Did I do any justice in the intro? It probably was not any good. Sorry about that. I thought it was pretty good.
No, it was perfect. I love it. That was the scariest game I've
He was
ever
definitely
been a
on the
part
phone.
of, 'cause I was just sitting there watching.
I was going to say, did he have
I'm sure you were
wireless
perfectly
in like I do?
Yeah. I'm sure you were perfectly relaxed, calm, composed, didn't yell at the TV, nothing.
Woke up my daughter a couple times, screaming at my computer screen.
The question is, did you make Javon Austin wear an earpiece during the game so you could actually talk to him?
Nope. I told him, can y'all hear me? Are we good?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah. No, I told him, I said, as coaches, man, everybody's always trying to make this out like it's chess. Everybody wants to say I'm saying, bro, it's checkers. Just go out there and
I love it.
Yeah, some of your players think it's backgammon sometimes. What are you doing? I got ideas, coach.
I love it.
So Panola, you were at Jacksonville. Now you're at Panola. Just tell us your JUCO journey real quick. And you played JUCO, so I got a great Aaron Smith story. I actually got to coach against Aaron Smith when I started my career at D3 JUCO, Richland College. Thunder Ducks in the house playing the championship game. We played them 3 times that year. I think one time we may have had like 53s. I don't remember, but probably so. There was 2 guys on the scout report for Northlake. A kid named Cage, who was a super high-level player, got to the rim whenever he wanted, and a shooter named Aaron Smith. The only 2 guys on the scout report. They played zone. But we played them in the final game to go to the championship. We won. We cut down the nets. Aaron went on to play great ball at PV and had some other stops. But, yeah, I got to coach against this guy, and we got to get 1 victory at least. I think we got 2 of the 3. We got the one that mattered. We got the one that mattered.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us your JUCO journey, if you don't mind, from playing all the way to coaching, if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah, for sure. I got into coaching, started my own AAU program out of the Dallas area, and then was fortunate to get hired as an assistant coach at Jacksonville College by Jody Bailey. And, this business is a bunch of right time, right place. And I was there just for a brief time, and Coach Bailey ended up taking an assistant job at the University of New Orleans, and they promoted me basically immediately. So my first game as a college coach was as a head coach. And so I was fortunate to be the head coach at Jacksonville for 4 years. My first year, we had a really good team, and I thought I knew everything, and we had a very successful year. My second year, I realized I know absolutely nothing and did not have a good year. And then my last 2 years at Jacksonville, we were fortunate to win the South Zone of Region 14 both of those years. And then was very blessed to get this job here at Panola in the same league. And this is my second year now at Panola.
It's funny. So I'm trying to think. When I got into this and when I knew you're a Caribbean kid.
Jabari. I think that was. I think it was his. It would have been my third year at Jacksonville. I think when you really started.
Yep. That's funny. So the actually, this is a perfect segue talking about Jabari. So you were actually one of the first junior college coaches that I got to know and talk to and things like that. And a kid like Jabari. Being an international guy, like how much experience before him had you had really with like international players and stuff?
Yeah, in the AAU game, I had a monster of a player from China one summer. But other than that, that was really this was my first experience. And then it being my first year at junior college, Jabari was so dang talented. He was still young, and he was one of the. It happens. I don't want to say rare, but he was one that, came to JUCO, redshirted a year, could have left after his second year there, first year playing. But it was just better for him and his maturation for him to stay another year. And so he was one that benefited greatly from being at JUCO for 2 years, and then is playing in Spain Gold as a rookie right now.
How about that? Everybody that listens to that. Because he ended up going to
UTA.
I always get UTA.
UTA had 15 and 5 blocks in Gonzaga, and that got him a deal.
I mean, it's crazy too, because junior college, as you know, is such an incredible opportunity if you have the resources. Not everybody does to be able to take in an international player. You and I are always talking about international players, and we talked a lot about Principal Singh, the Ignite now, which I wish he had gone to college, but you see a lot of these international kids coming through, and I think because the game has grown so much. I mean, you take a kid like Jabari, being where he was from, like the game is exploding and growing down there. and Jabari was a connection through, I think, Mario, right? With Caribbean Hoops and stuff, and really being able to expand your recruiting horizons. And it's so cool that you were able to have that experience early on to recognize, like, hey, there's literally players everywhere. When maybe talk about it as a coach, because I have these conversations all the time with guys, and I'm always the one that's like trying to play salesman, right? Like, okay, you got to look at this, you got to look at that, whatever. But you as a coach, what are you looking for when you're dealing with, if you're looking at Europe, it's the context of what are they playing against. If you're looking at the Caribbean or Africa or something, there is no context, right? Yeah. There's no whatever. How do you kind of process that recruiting?
I'll tell you, one of the things, and it's our number one cultural foundation, I always talk about gratefulness. Like, I do not want to be around people that don't have just gratitude in their hearts. And one of the things that I've been very fortunate with dealing with a lot of international kids, a lot of them coming from from very, very difficult, places and backgrounds. It's like, they're grateful for the opportunity, and I kind of it's just one of these things. It's like they're hungry, and sometimes they come here literally hungry, you know what I mean? And it's just like, those kids aren't going to complain about, whatever you're eating after a post-game meal or whatever it is. It's just like, and I love that. And I mean, we obviously do a good job of, taking care of kids here, and it's a great situation. But I love, being around guys that have grateful hearts, and, from originally with, getting 3 or 4 guys from the Caribbean. Those guys wanted to work, were grateful for everything. And I've been successful with international guys from different places that fit that mold.
Well, and I think especially when you're able to find kids like that, it simplifies things. They're maybe going to be most of the time behind, right? A little bit on speed of game and style of play and, offense execution and all that sort of thing. But it simplifies a lot of things when they are, incredibly grateful and hardworking, and, they'll run through a wall for you and then ask if there's any other walls that need to be ran through while they're there. And that simplifies things. And that's hard to explain to a lot of guys sometimes, where it's like, look, they're not going to understand the offense immediately. But while you're dealing with the kid that knows the offense perfectly, but is, all twisted up about, having to ride the bus at 5 o'clock in the morning and, getting fast food after the game, and, he's not being whatever, and he's complaining about his minutes. You don't have any of that.
Right.
So, 100%. You don't maybe have the perfect execution on offense, but all the other BS is not really there. And you get to really focus on the basketball and that.
I'll give you a perfect example. So we signed a kid that played at NBA Academy Africa last year. His name's Dalu, and he's from Nigeria. And so he's been in Nigeria this past year. This dude drives 3 hours to get to an outdoor court to hoop.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we even talking about? I see what he can do. And this dude's driving 3 hours, sending me video of him playing pickup games on an outdoor court. Yeah, I'm going to be able to coach that.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Well, and obviously, with the stuff that we do, and of course, I just constantly am telling stories about Gideon, but even JP Frederick. JP Frederick is a kid that was from the Caribbean, and went to State College with Tom, and the State College of Florida admissions people, they couldn't figure out some of the academics, because, as you know, the Caribbean stuff is complicated, right? Yep. And so he didn't play. And fortunately, the coach at Northwoods took a flyer when I said, I promise he's going to be really good. I promise. And JP went up there, wants nothing, will not ask for anything. Even if he needs something, he'll just go figure it out himself. He won't ask the coach, whatever. And he was a starter and a stud for them in the D2 this year. And I mean, he played in St. Lucia. He never really played truly organized basketball. Right. And his best organized ball was practice with Tom for a year. So I just think that's one of the things that immediately drew me to you, was, not only knowing how you took care of your kids and how you treated them and the coaching and all that sort of thing, but being able to really recognize that other part of a human being that makes them good at basketball. and makes them great at being a part of a team, because not everybody has that. Right. It's oh yeah, cool story about their whatever and what makes them them, but talk to me about their jump shot.
Right.
Well, they would have never signed Jabari, right? They would have never said like, well, that kid can't set a screen. It's like, well, no, he's never had to set a screen, because in the Caribbean it's just this. Right. For 40 minutes. But you know what? If you teach him, he'll pick it up and figure it out.
For sure.
And I think I just think it's great that you have that ability, which is so underappreciated in coaching, to recognize like what the human aspect can be, and actually how it helps you be good at basketball.
Absolutely. Amen.
So, did we lose Brian?
Nope. Still there. Talk about this year's team. You didn't start in the preseason polls, if I'm not mistaken. Top 25. You're not only in the top 25 now, but you jumped into the top 15. And similar to last year, I think you guys didn't start out in the polls your first year there, and then you guys climbed the polls, had some big wins. Obviously, Hutch didn't get a chance to happen, but talk about just kind of that swing that you've been able to establish there at Panola the last 2 years.
Yeah, I took over for Grant McMillan, who was here for 4 years and did a really, really good job, and had Panola regularly nationally ranked. And we were not in the polls at all at the beginning of last year, and we were fortunate. We beat Odessa, beat Clarendon, won out South Plains, and so I think we made it all the way up to 11th last year. Didn't finish the year great. Y'all were talking about different JUCO basketball and everything. Region 14, of course, I'm partial to it, but it's. I remember there was a year, and I won't name any of the teams, but there was a year since I've been in the league where the team that finished 13th place in our league beat the JUCO national champion. And so when you watch and you say, oh, that's a bad loss, right? Really? What was it, a bad loss, or is everybody just really good? Right. And there's no other leagues that can say that. So we didn't finish great. We finished. We won 19 games, which is all right, and we really hit the ground recruiting hard, because we were all sophomores last year, basically, and so we had to go sign literally an entirely new team. And to be perfectly honest, I was terrified heading into this year. We had a combined 31 games of college experience on this year's team coming into this year. 33. So 31 games came from Josh Miller, who was at Collin last year.
It all came from one guy.
Yeah, and then 2 games came from Jaheim, who was here last year but broke his wrist in the second game of the season and didn't play. So that's combined. So I was worried, but the kids, to their credit, even not being able to play a game until January 20th, they worked their butts off from August 15th, and and it carried over, and so we were able to win some big games early, but it's a very young team, and it's fun because they don't know what they don't know, and so it's cool to see them rise to the occasion, even as I'm in my bed out with COVID protocols on Wednesday. Watching them live stream go to Navarro, which is an extremely difficult place to play, and they're really good. And to come out with a win is just it's really cool to watch.
And did I read Josh Miller had 30? You're one returner that played in 33 games or 31 games. 31 games. He had 36 points. Did I read that? Is that correct?
Josh Miller had 36. He was big time, making big time shots, and Cody Dean had 33, 27 in the second half.
So does that mean Josh Miller is kind of officially arrived? Because that was a pretty big game to have 30.
No, that's a big one.
He's always had the talent. He's always been a guy who's been on the radar, but he's never quite broken through. So a 36-point game sounds like he's here.
It was impressive. And again, it's not, it's against dudes that have already been Division I playing at Navarro, or have multiple, Division I offers, or already signed Division I. So it wasn't a 36 that that 36 should be heard throughout the country for people that are recruiting wings. I should say that.
I like it. I figured you'd want to say that. So talk about your team and some of the guys that you would want to get some respect for recruiting.
Well, it's crazy because, so many of them are freshmen. Cody Dean has played extremely well. Cody Dean is 5'9" on a good day. And he was played EYBL for pro skills and didn't sit on the end of the bench. Like, he played and played well. And I did everything I could to get him here. And I was, glad that he trusted me, and he's been fantastic. He had, like I said, he had 33 at Navarro. He had 34 at Paris, including the game-winning buzzer beater. So he's had some other really big games. So he's been great. We've had, I want to say 5 guys score at least 23 points in a game. And so it's been really good for us to have multiple guys. Titan Newton's been banged up a little bit, but he's a 6'1" guard. He played EYBL. Also, he played for Mean Streets out of Chicago, and he was fantastic in our first game against Navarro. He had 23 against them, and so we've really spread it around. Isaac Jackson's a freshman from small town in East Texas. He was the 1A state player of the year. He had 29 in exposure on Saturday. So I mean, we've done a good job of balancing the stuff, but try to let the guys really play free. And if somebody's going, we got to get them the ball.
I love it. Any funny JUCO stories before we let you go during your time playing or coaching?
Funny JUCO stories, man.
It's always when it gets good.
I love the wheels turning in every coach's head going, can I tell that one? Can I tell
say that one?
Can I tell that one? No, I'm trying to think. Like, man, you put me on the spot.
I give you a quick second to think while we acknowledge BG's shirt. That shirt is high level. Not only is the Space Jam in the background, but the Space Jam tee.
NBA Jam, not Space Jam.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
That's what you get for not sleeping.
Exactly. I'm thinking of the LeBron image in my head of his new Space Jam coming out. NBA Jam. Was that Penny Hardaway and Shaq?
Yeah. Yeah, Penny and Shaq. Actually, I'm such a fanboy nerd that when we interviewed him for our podcast, I wore this, and then I had like a Penny figure thing in the background too. I was like, "What's up, dude?"
Hey,
I do have a good one. I was processing which ones I could tell. So last year we're at South Plains. South Plains was, I think at the time they were number 6 in the country. I want to say we were like 13th or something like that. So it's a big game. I mean, we travel, 8 hours to get there or whatever. We are down 2 with about 6 seconds left. All right. We got the ball at the sideline, and I call a timeout and, set up a play. I'm like, shoot, let's try to win it, and set up a play for a 3. Our kid gets open, shoots the 3. It hits the back rim. Okay. Goes all the way up, hits the shot clock. Okay. And then drops in. All right. Everybody in the gym saw it hit the shot clock with the exception of 3 officials. Okay. It gets better. So bucket goes in. Steve Green, Hall of Famer, calls a timeout. He's going crazy, as I would be too. It hit the shot clock. It hit the shot clock. So we're up 1, right? So I'm going through this timeout like, okay, there's, I forget exact how much time's left, but it's like, okay, we, don't foul, be solid. We're up 1. A 3 doesn't hurt us any more than a 2, got to be all this. And then all of a sudden, at the very end of the timeout, the referee comes over to me, and I know what he's about to do. He's about to wave about to wave it off. And he comes over there, and I just wave him off. I'm like, don't even come over here. Like I knew what he was going to say. He teased me up.
What?
Yes. Of which he apologized for, by the way, because it was absurd. So he teased me up, and I'm like, so we go from up 1, okay,
wow,
to now down 2. They're shooting the technical free throw and have the ball. Okay.
Wow.
Dude misses both the techs. We foul. They make one free throw. We're down 3. Call another timeout. We get the ball in. Jermaine Drury, that's playing Division I basketball at Longwood now, hits a 35-footer at the buzzer to send it to overtime. And then we ended up winning in overtime. But it's just like, that type of stuff. And I always said, I was like, look, if one of these referees would have came in yelling, shot clock, it hit the shot clock, it's out of bounds, it's out of bounds. Like, nobody did it. None of the 3 saw it.
They were talked into it because they didn't see it.
So you're taking the word for this, this South Plains donor that's sitting 5 rows up. Okay, but yeah. So that was a wild one, but that was a memorable win for sure. That was a good one.
This year they'd be able to hear it. nobody in the gym just whack.
No, exactly. No, that was wild. That was wild.
I love it, man. Well,
and I gotta say real quick, just super quick. You're talking to Coach Jones earlier at North Carolina AT. Like, I was fortunate to play at a HBCU.
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
Yeah, and I want to say, so my senior year at Prairie View, we played at Tennessee. They were 7th ranked in the country in front of 20,000. We played at Baylor. We played at West Virginia, all these other places, and played really well in some of those games. But there is nothing that compared even close to Prairie View, Grambling, or Prairie View, Texas Southern. And so, like, my experience, I was fortunate to be there for 2 years. Something that I'll always cherish, and something that I grew a great deal from too, just being in a different spot where you are, the outsider and everything. So I think it helped me be much more humble and hopefully much more empathetic. But it was a fantastic experience for me that I will still talk to many friends from there. One of my professors while I was there is still a good friend and a mentor to mine. So I wouldn't trade my 2 years at Prairie View and at HBCU for anything.
I love it. Drop the mic. Well, good luck the rest of the season, Coach. Don't keep your daughter up. Hopefully, you won't have to miss any more games. So
no, hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Tell the family, say hello, man. Stay safe, and good luck the rest of the way.
Good, Coach.
Definitely will. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, another awesome one. Love that dude.
Yes, sir.
One of the best.
Love it.
BG time. It's BG time.
Oh no. What am I gonna rant about today?
Anything you want. JUCO, Division I, whatever you got.
It's funny right now with the recruitment stuff. The transfer portal is going bonkers, right? Like, it's nuts. And I think there's a misperception out there that a rule has passed that hasn't
passed. Yep.
And likely won't. It's been tabled because the feds got involved. And so anybody listening to this or anybody that hears this should tell your friends, like, that rule's not done. Now, there's probably still going to be a lot of waiver things. I should probably say what the rule is. The being able to transfer one-time transfer and play immediately. That hasn't passed.
Yep.
So, I'm sure there'll be waiver stuff for sure. Because we're still in COVID times, and you can kind of finagle those things as you need to. And the NCAA is, for the most part, been pretty good about signing off on those. They still stuck to their guns on some this year, which was dumb, especially because there's some dudes out there that kind of forget why they coach, and we're like, no, I'm not signing off on that because reason. Right. Even though they would be the ones demanding that somebody else sign off on it. So
no question.
Get out of here. But guys that are thinking like, I'm just going to sit and pick and choose from these 1,500 transfers that are going to be in there. And, there'll be a lot of grad transfers for sure, because now your seniors that would maybe normally be done with their career, like, they're going to be able to hopefully graduate and be a grad transfer. So there's going to be a lot of that. Be careful with that. There's a lot of grad transfers that are successful, but there's a significantly higher number that are not at their next place, because a lot of times there's moving up and all that. Somebody needs to do a study on this. I need to find Jeff Goodman and say, hey, when you got nothing else to do this. I think he even did something on it one time about trying to quantify success, up, down, sideways, whatever.
There hasn't been as much success as what people think from guys going up as grad transfers.
Right. Yeah. It's a weird space. It depends on what you need. Sometimes it's guys that are just looking for something different. They're not necessarily like trying to be a high impact pro guy, whatever. Anyways. But you should probably start recruiting junior college more. I'm just saying. Our guys at Verbal Commits, they're starting to tweet out some offers, but a lot of them are for the same couple guys, right? That's the other funny thing right now too, is like you'll see an offer go out for a junior college kid, and then the next week there'll be like 6 or 7 more. It's like, okay, what were you doing? So you were just waiting for somebody else to do it first, and then you're not offering any of the other kids that are.
I was gonna say it gets exposed now too because there's not as many offers. So it's like, wait a minute, he's the only guard that plays like that you're gonna offer in the entire country because other people did.
And I had one yesterday. I'm not gonna say any names. I'm not gonna say any teams or whatever. So if you're listening to this, which you're probably not, but I'm not gonna throw you under the bus. Well, I'm about to, but I'm not gonna say your name. So you're going to be anonymously under the bus. So a Division I school offers this junior college kid, and they specifically make like a heavy-handed point that they don't want to see that offer out on social media. They don't want anybody talking about it because they'll deny it and they want to get him, but they don't want to be the one that blows him up and whatever. Screw you.
Or just not an offer.
What are you talking about? So you think the best way to get a kid is to say we want you, but
don't tell anybody that we want you.
Yeah, we're going to put rules and restrictions on. Like, get out of here. Like, for sure, I completely understand there are offer. This kid is not one of the offer collector type kids, right? But let the kid have his dang flowers. What are you talking about? If you're good at your job and you're good at what you do and whatever, then you should be in the mix, but this whole idea of like, oh, we don't want it out there. Poor Nathan has to deal with this crap all the time when like kids will text him or whatever. Cause Nathan, for as much as he can, tries to vet every offer. Right. I mean, we have a cell phone number on every coach in the country, so we can get a hold of the staff and find out. Right. And some of the guys are just so coy about things. They're like, I don't know, man. I got to check with my guys, and maybe if we offer, I don't know. It's kind of weird. And even though they just got off a conference call with the kid, it all threw out.
Right. So, and the whole staff was on.
And the kid will like send a text message and be like, well, here's the head coach saying that, we'd love to offer you a scholarship and whatever. And I'll check the phone number. I'm like, yeah, that's his number. Get out of here. Come on. But seriously, like, there are so many good players right now. I'm actually in between here. My phone's getting blown up by a coach at a Division I asking about this kid. And he in a normal year, he'd have 10 offers. He has none. And he doesn't even really have like any true recruitment. He's got schools calling, checking in and stuff like, tell me about this kid, is he?
Right.
But nothing that I would call recruitment. And so I'm texting the coach right now, like, no brainer, you better get on it. Like, and we'll see if they do or not. But I mean, I've had that conversation a lot lately, and guys are still like, like, oh man, this kid's great. This kid's that, he's whatever. And yeah, we'll see what happens with the transfer market. I'm like, kill me.
Yeah, the transfer market is so up in the air. I mean, they may give another waiver for everybody like they did this year.
Yeah, but I think they're probably going to give a lot. It's not a foregone conclusion.
Probably have to, but it's not an automatic.
Are you willing to put your job on it? What if you go recruit 3 kids that are transfers and you can only get one of them a waiver or something like? Whoops. Right. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. The thing that I do like right now is junior college and the NJCAA did and Chris Parker did a great job of adjusting the season timeline. And while unfortunately the NCAA made the decision to go completely dead, even in April, which I don't know how I feel about it, but to go completely dead even in April, we're going to be playing tournament playoff and, conference tournaments and Hutch and the Division II and III championships and things like that during a time when Division I coaches' seasons are mostly done. And so they'll be able to sit there and watch the live streams and start, really being able to focus on some of the recruiting and stuff while these kids are still playing, which I think is important. So, kudos to them for making that adjustment on the schedule there because, I think Hutch is April 18th, maybe 18th to 21st. So those 3 weeks in April are going to be conference tournaments in Hutch. And, a lot of schools are wrapping up now, so if your season ends here in the next week or two, you've got, a month and a half of junior college basketball that you can actively watch as it's happening and recruit for the first time ever.
Yep.
Because usually the timelines are right in line. Yep. And then, guys can make it to Hutch, but that's about it. Those conference tournaments never really had much in the way of coaches at them because they're just finishing their season and stuff. So now you're going to get regular season and conference tournament and Hutch. So, and the D2 and D3 championships, which shout out to Coach Brett Putz, by the way.
Yeah.
Because this is our show, so we can do whatever we want.
Yep.
First year head coach. I've known Brett since I've started doing this because for some reason the ops guy at Omaha felt like chatting to me one day. And so he is now ranked number 1 in Division II with DMAC. Nice. And they've got some dudes. They've got some really good players. They have some really good players
to recruit,
to actively recruit and offer as opposed to check in on and then see if you can find a better transfer. So shout out to Brett because that's super exciting. And he's doing a great job. And, I tell you what, that Iowa League, when this year they've combined, for everything because of COVID.
Yeah.
I don't think there's probably another state that has the level of talent at both the Division I and Division II level to create like a super league.
Right.
I mean, that Iowa League is yoked like D1 and D2. And most places
go through it. I was actually seeing that, and they've done a good job with their social media a little bit, kind of putting everything together. And but DMAC is in there, Indian Hills is in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Kirkwood,
which was number 1, and DMAC actually beat them. I think maybe first or second game of the season.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and even great programs like Indian Hills and Hank and stuff, I mean, he'll tell you like, hey, when you go play these D2 Iowa schools, it's a war. DMAC knocked off Indian Hills the other night. And some people may look at that and go, well, gee whiz, like you're losing to a D2 team. No, you're not losing to a D2 team. You're losing to a D2 team in, title only. Like Brett literally has a roster of Division I players.
Right.
It's real big boy basketball.
Well, it's probably somewhat like if you were to say Gonzaga's the number 1 mid major in the country and they beat a high major that's highly rated, then it's kind of just because their league doesn't mean that's who they are.
Yeah, I mean, if DMAC was a Division I team, they would also be ranked in Division I.
Right.
So,
right.
So let's see. We got recruit junior college players because transfers hasn't happened. We got quit hiding offers.
Right.
What? And shout out to Brett. What else we got?
So in that conversation you just said, and I heard some other people saying this too, now that the seasons are ending, junior college is extending their season to normal standard. Mm-hmm. So people should be able to recruit more junior college and have no excuse because there's nothing else going on.
Yeah, what's the reason?
You can't go anywhere. Live streams are everywhere. Like some offers should be starting to pick up for junior college kids because people should be watching.
Yeah. And the other thing too, outside of the junior college space, there are great high school kids that are being ignored. There are great international kids that are being ignored.
Yep.
If you want to do the work, every guy I talk to, I said, if you want to do the work, you can get better players this year than you probably will be able to get in any other year if you're a mid to low major school. And the D2s as well, because the D2s are going to be able to gobble up some of the D1 talent kids that aren't getting the D1 offers. But there is a difference between being selective and just like, paralysis by analysis, right? Like, there's this mindset of like, gosh, well, it's still early. If I move on him now, maybe something better will come along. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Do you like, the 5 things that you have to have in a player? Does he check all those boxes? Yeah. Okay. He's a good kid. You like student? Is he talented? Does he do what you want him to do? Is he, but yeah. Okay. So you're just saying that maybe you're just going to wait and maybe miss out on that one because maybe one comes along that also checks all those things, but checks it better or something. At some point, like, commit to what you want. And when you find it, go for it, because otherwise you're going to lose out. The school right now that I know today, there's a kid that's going to commit, I think today. And this other school has been talking to this kid for a long time, and it's a perfect fit, and they just won't get over the hump to do it. And they're about to lose him today, and they have no idea that's going to happen.
I love it.
And, then they're going to be like, dang, I thought we were in there. And it's like, were you? Did you think that? Why did you really want him? Right. I mean, a ton of these kids that I talk to, I say one of the most important things that can be expressed to you by a coach is not your position or how they're going to use you or whatever, but it's being truly wanted. Right. That's so important. I was talking to a kid yesterday who is a great student. He's a phenomenal high character, all this sort of thing. And I said, regardless of how great of a student you are, regardless of how high character you are, all those sort of things, at some point, shit's going to go wrong. Right? Something is going to happen. You have a bad practice. You have a bad game. You have a bad attitude one day. Like, you'd be the world's greatest kid. You're going to have a bad attitude at some point about something. Right. And I said, when that happens, if you are truly wanted in that recruiting process, everybody's going to be able to work through it. Right. Without leaving any scars for the most part. But if you're like the side note or the, I guess we'll take him guy or, whatever, when things go wrong,
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Like, they didn't necessarily really want you in the first place. They are literally looking for an excuse to replace you at all times.
Yep.
So, if you're not truly expressing to a kid that you truly want them, good luck. So that's what I got, man. My rant for today.
I love it. I just got one.
Okay.
This is a little controversial, a lot controversial, but I want to go there. Only because we've seen some guys lose jobs recently, right? Because of comments or things that maybe they were doing before that are now coming out because the climate has changed. So we have this situation happen at Creighton after the game. I'm not going to suggest that he should lose his job at this point, but I do want to bring up, it just seems really, really strange to ever use the words plantation and stay on the plantation in a sentence twice to your team. Like, I just
has that word in their everyday vernacular.
Exactly. That's the part that's the most troubling about it.
Yeah.
It's like, I've lived, my 38 years, and I don't think I've ever heard that word in a conversation ever.
There's only one context for it.
Only
it's
one.
Not like
it's diverse. It's not this multifaceted.
You can't say it was taken out of context. There is one context for what a plantation is. What it was. It like a plantation doesn't exist today in the physical terms of what it was. Like, it was only ever one thing.
Right.
Like, so if you're saying that word, And again, like, I was talking to somebody, and look, I don't know Coach McDermott from Adam. I have never spoken to him, and so, for me to pass any sort of judgment or whatever, but there's 50 other words that would come to any other person's mind before they say the word plantation.
Or 150.
Yeah, you're right. And once you get to the 151st word and it's plantation, probably don't use that one. It's I don't know. And it was such a weird thing. Of course, as soon as it happened, everybody, I'm sure your phone, same thing. Everybody's like, yo, what is this thing? And that was a hard one. That was a
really hard one.
That was, you've heard somebody say, when they say, what's the dumb phrase? The inmates running the asylum or something, right? Like, don't say that, whatever. But like, at least that was a phrase that incorrectly has been used in the past.
It was incorrectly commonly used, though. It was like a common term.
We've all heard that one. Don't say it, but we've all heard that one. I've never heard this one before. This isn't like well, shucks. This is a saying that, is just kind of a saying that has passed its time. No, there was never a time that was a thing.
Ever.
Yeah,
ever. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to judge the movements. Much shout out to Terrence Rencher, who was put in a extremely difficult situation, and the way he's handled it, I don't think you could handle it any better to this point. And I have so much respect. He's a close friend of mine, and I have so much respect that he is the one that's there to do that, because I think that's really hard. So shout out to him first and foremost. And I'll give a credit to the school for stepping in. I think Coach probably meant well by his asking of the team but shout out to the school for suspending him. I don't know what happens next. But to feel like there's no accountability and you can just say that and it's nothing felt really, really ugly.
Well, it's interesting too, because it happened in this, super amplified moment in our country as far as like cancel culture,
climate,
right? Like cancel culture is now this phrase that gets thrown around on Fox News or something. And they say, cancel culture, you can't say anything. It's like, you're right. You can't say stupid shit.
Right.
Like,
and you shouldn't, and you're finally being held accountable for it. Yeah,
there's a difference between cancel culture and being held accountable for the first time.
Right.
It's weird because, again, I don't know Coach McDermott. I don't know his heart. I don't know his mind. I don't know. I've never worked around him, and I'm sure there are people that have that would say, look, it was a mistake and whatever. But unfortunately, you gotta, or fortunately, you're gonna be held accountable for mistakes like that now, because otherwise that becomes extremely comfortable.
Right. And it becomes acceptable.
Becomes acceptable. If somebody can say something like that and there's no level of accountability, and I don't know what the level of accountability here should be. So,
I don't either.
But some sort of accountability, which has begun, because otherwise it becomes comfortable, it becomes acceptable, and that's something that we as a country are dealing with on a massive scale, where there's a lot of empowerment to people right now that think it's okay to say and do certain things that are offensive or hurtful or downright attacking and things in a lot of different social situations, and it's become too comfortable, right? It's like, I mean, shoot, we're right on the edge of everybody saying like, well, why can't I just say the N-word all the time? Like, what? Like, are you serious? Like, that's an active conversation people are having now, where they're saying like, well, I hear it in music, so I can say it all. No, you can't.
No.
Like, golly. And there has to be some correction back to, not correction back to, but correction way beyond what we've ever deemed as acceptable and comfortable to say.
Right.
So, and in basketball, to bring it back into the context of which you and I operate, we have to really, really hone in on correcting what is acceptable. and what is comfortable, because this entire industry is built on the backs of Black athletes. And so, if that sort of thing becomes a comfortable, acceptable thing to say, that's a huge rock thrown in the pond, and those ripples are going to go a long ways. I mean, I know there are people that whether he meant it in the way that he said it or whatever, again, that hurt.
No question.
People that aren't even on the team, like that hurt. And I can't put myself in those shoes, obviously, to understand what that feels like, where somebody in a position of power like that, a person who's making millions of dollars a year doing this, can say something that has one context, and it's directly to slavery.
Right.
Like,
right. And if you look at the college basketball model, if we want to be very, very blunt, very direct, some people have compared it to that because the coach, like you said, is making millions. These guys are the ones doing the work and playing and getting the buckets and winning the game. Not that I want to go there, but we should go there because it probably felt different to hear that and wait a minute, like that's how you look at this? Wait a minute.
When you really pull apart, like,
wait a minute,
the context of who said it and what was said, that was a brutal one.
Right.
You may say that the word plantation is just a word. Like, no, it's not.
No, it's not. And then again, you go back to Terrence Rencher, who is the only minority on the staff as far as assistant coaches. And now you're put in a position where your head coach, who essentially hired you and, is your boss. Yeah. And you've done this, well, you've said this, and it's very offensive to you personally. And I haven't talked to Terrence about that part specifically, but it is, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of layers to that. And I am glad that there's at least some real conversation and some real accountability to change what's been acceptable for a long time. Because if this happens 2 years ago, even, it's kind of brushed under the rug. Yeah. Same with what happened with some other programs that have lost coaches. Again, I'm not saying coach should lose his job, but there should definitely be real accountability.
I mean, it's a conversation that has to be had because I think for two reasons. One, you have to publicly really express the accountability aspect of it, but you also really have to then have the conversation so that people truly understand why that was so bad, right? Yeah. Like, imagine walking down the street, and if a white guy comes up to a black guy and, they bump into each other, and he says to him, like, hey, get back to the plantation. Like, why is that any different?
And stay there.
Yeah.
Let's stay on the plantation.
Yeah.
It's like said it once, reiterated it. So, yeah, obviously we know what happened at Texas State. We know what happened at Wichita State, and we know what happened at Penn State. All kind of a little bit different, but variations of player treatment from the head coach that has been acceptable for a long time that is no longer being allowed to be acceptable. So I just wanted to go there because it's been heavy on my heart. It kind of hit me at first, and so much going on in my own personal world. I was like, did this really happen? Wait a minute. Let me come back to this. And so as I go back to it and I look at it, I'm just like, it really makes you question. I just don't know how you come up with that word of all words to come up with in that leadership position, knowing the climate. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. So.
Yeah, and I hope, out of this, I'm sure for him, but again, don't know. But anybody else observing this from the outside, like, huge lessons to be learned.
Huge.
From it. And not that the crap of it is you don't, like, you wish you didn't have to have those lessons out there to be learned, right? It would sure be nice if we were just not saying things like that. But this one, it's probably maybe not even getting as much national attention as it should. And there's a large contingent of people that are going to do the whole, and probably even say to me, I'm sure I'll get some DM or something that tells me to shut up and quit with the cancel culture shit. But I saw some of the responses to, like, Jeff Goodman, and they're like, good job, Jeff. Like, you're getting another guy canceled. And it's like, shut up. Like, if you can't look at this and realize that that there's a conversation we have to have, and that some accountability needs to be had, and that we have to start making these changes, then like, first off, look, if that's your take on this, then you're definitely another guy that would say stay on the plantation. So stop, but yeah, it's a tough conversation because, should Greg McDermott be, done because, an entire career of what he's done to this point be, waxed because of a comment that he made? I don't know. I mean, that's not for me to decide, but it wasn't good. And, somebody will make that decision. And, if he keeps his job, one assumes that there will be a lot of work by him put into changing himself, but also changing, maybe the way that a lot of people perceive this game and the student athletes and things like that. And he can have a large impact on helping make that change. Yep. If he gets the opportunity to do that, we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely it's an opportunity. I hope that I just hope that good can come from it, to be honest. Naturally, you hope that they learn, he learns, he's able to take some kind of a action, whether has job, doesn't have job, to be able to show some real remorse, because, words can just be said and, oh, I'm sorry, and, oh, I issued a statement. It's similar to get a little bit on a tangent, but when it first happened in George Floyd, and all these coaches are coming up with these like graphic made statements and these things they're putting out about how they feel, and you just wonder how sincere is it, because it's easy to put out a graphic and say I'm sorry or hey, I support Black Lives Matter, but in this particular case, when you've gone this far over the line, like, you're gonna have to prove some people that you really mean whatever you're trying to say as far as an apology.
Like a mea culpa in the notes app of your phone, afterwards. And then also, that kind of trivializing it a little bit, I think. Right. And saying that, I recognized immediately that I screwed up and immediately apologized. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Right. But that we're still at a place where, you said a very specific thing that only has one meaning, I think, I guess if I have one complaint, I get it. So somebody with some PR experience probably should have said, like, the little notes app thing is probably not it for this one, homie.
No, the notes app makes it almost like, I realize I did something wrong. I don't want to look a certain way, but it wasn't as sincere as like, hey, you're the head coach at Creighton. You're top 25 in the country. Call a press conference or something. Yes. Have a real conversation. Let people know why you know what I mean?
It's out there. It's not like you're going to be able to hide it at this point. No. So you might as well like fully embrace the mistake.
Right.
Because otherwise it just comes across relatively insincere. So,
and I think that's the part.
It doesn't even mean that it was insincere. It just
it comes across that way.
Now you're dealing with perception as reality.
Yep.
Welcome to the world of public relations. And, when you're in that position,
you're a public figure.
Yep. A senator is not getting away with a notes app. So, you're in a highly recognized. More people in Nebraska know who Greg McDermott is than know their senator. So
not only their senator, but he's probably the highest paid person on that campus.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, shoot, but besides the football coach at Nebraska and then Fred Hoiberg, he's probably the third highest paid coach in the state. So, it's, it is what it is. So a lot of work to do, and, that's that.
Yep. Wanted to go there. So going back to the show, great show. Will Jones, phenomenal job. Aaron Smith, great junior college coach. Will Jones won a championship, so congratulations to him. Aaron Smith doing a great job, nationally ranked yet again. Both guys represent HBCUs as well, which we appreciate that. I want to show love to that. And, junior college games will be being played. Definitely tune in and watch. Stop trying to hide offers, and not let other people know that you're recruiting people, because you don't want that kid to possibly blow up, and then you may not get them because whatever.
It's just not going to work.
Yeah, just be careful what we say. I mean, people, it's not just Black people only, whether you are special needs, which I have a heart for even more now than ever, whether it's that, whether it's your sexual orientation and preference. There's a lot of differences in people in this world. So let's just treat people the best we possibly can, you know, and even if you don't realize that you think you're better than, or you look down on someone else's when they're in a certain position, like let's just check ourselves and treat people better and be better, man.
Yep, 100%. Hey, there's a lot of ground you can make in your day if, when you wake up, the first thing you try and do is say, I'm going to be as good of a person as I can today. I'm going to let the rest figure itself out.
And I'm not going to think that I'm as big of a deal as maybe I hope that I am, and just treat people like they're a big deal, whoever they are. So that's all I got.
Simple.
Been real. See you soon.
All right, buddy. Be good.
We're out.